So, okay, so Kate Adams,
Yeah,
if people want to say what organisation they're with or from or support, that's fine. Don't have to.
Have I unmuted?
Yes.
Yeah, we
You can hear me okay, yeah, I'll be quick, yeah. So I'm from Kent Left. We originally organised around supporting Corbyn, just a loose organisation of people on the left. So I've been working with another comrade still in the Labour Party, I'm expelled, to just set up some discussions, and we showed the Big Lie film in our Labour club, and there's been a move to show that again as well. And what I picked up from that is that the left in my area is very fragmented, and a lot of people are still grieving really for the Labour Party. So we wanted to set up another meeting, which is which way for the left, not as blatant as your meeting, but including that demand for a new party of the working class, but also making room for, you know, other points of view. Unfortunately, I tried to get a speaker for that, who is a striking doctor from Socialist Appeal, but I failed. So we're starting again for September, and I really wanted to ask Mahmood to speak because of the way he's presents as quite an ordinary working class man, but he's transcended the Labour smear and won. And also what he has to say is in the language of the working class. It's very clear, the issues about democracy, about the taxes being imposed on people. He would be wonderful. Obviously, Whitstable's a long way, but we're trying to do a hybrid meeting. So if he was happy to do that, he could come on Zoom, and we'll try and find a more local speaker as well. I just wanted to also say, in connection with that, we're setting up a trades council locally to support people who are striking. There was only one in Folkestone and Dover, and we're trying to set up one more locally. And we've got bin men on strike. We've got a Labour council now, and already they're treating them like dirt and supporting the scabs. So that's very interesting. There's quite a lot going on in Little Whitstable and Canterbury. So I hope if Mahmood is interested, he would get in touch with me. Should I put my email in the chat or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's, and solidarity for all the wonderful, inspiring speeches.
Right. Thank you very much, Kate. Next on the list is Eric Jarvis.
All right. I am sorry if I repeat what other people have said. I wrote this afternoon. I'm going to read from what I concocted this afternoon. Cobbling together new left parties in a hurry or building new parties around a single big figure has failed repeatedly. This is because unless a party is founded with a robust constitution that ensures grassroots democratic control from its foundation, it will descend into factionalism or be hijacked by opportunists. Creating a constitution, such a constitution, is not a trivial task, and it can't be ready before the next general election. However, we don't have to wait for that. The Labour Party was founded in 1906, but already by then there were a good number of MPs who had been elected as independents, as local trade union-backed candidates, with localised socialist parties, and even as trade union-backed liberals. That worked, and it changed British politics for a century. So long as we don't accept the media fantasy narrative of how politics works, there are ways we can recreate the run-up to the start of the Labour Party. Jamie Driscoll just raised £50,000 in 4 hours for his North East mayoral election campaign. It only costs 500 quid to stand in a parliamentary election. The most that can be spent in any constituency is 15 grand. MPs are routinely elected spending only 5,000. If we start fundraising real soon now, we can run really effective campaigns for at least 100 candidates from the left, even without a national party backing them. What we need to be in the constitution for a new party, it has to be impossible to change the constitution without massive support from the membership. It can't be done on the whim by the leadership. That was one of the flaws of the Labour Party. It has to be grassroots upwards democratic decision-making at all levels. Otherwise, the opportunists take over. It needs to have rules preventing party representatives from receiving donations into their own pockets. It has to go through the appropriate level of the party itself, not to the individual representative. There have to be rules ensuring that all paid staff are selected through proper recruitment process and not just through patronage. Finally, and this is what is going to take the most time, there have to be clearly delineated rules of acceptable behaviour. And again, that takes time if it isn't going to be used for factional ends. It means defining all the bigotries and prejudices so that they can't be twisted. We need to do it slowly, and we need to get it right this time, learn from the mistakes that were made in the Labour Party's constitution and rulebook, and let's get some good lefties into Parliament in the meantime. If I've got a little bit more time, which I hope I have.
No, you haven't.
I haven't. Okay.
Have another 20 seconds.
Okay. I've been working on the campaign for Rosie Mitchell as the independent socialist candidate in the Somerton and Frome by-election. And that is going really well against the Labour Party that has one experienced member left in it. Everybody else has been expelled or resigned. That is the situation we're in. We can get independent left candidates into Parliament if we have a good run up to it.
Right. Thanks very much, Eric. Next is Pete McLaren.
Thanks, Dave. Comrades, can everybody hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yep. Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, I'm here on behalf of the Trade Unionist and Socialist Coalition, of which I'm an officer. And Dave Nellis sends his apologies. He's got another meeting. Now, as some of you know, TUSC, the Trade Unionist and Socialist Coalition, that is, has been in existence for some 12 years now, attempting to do some of the very things that some of the comrades who spoke at the beginning have been referring to tonight. And it is a long process, obviously. But I'd like to think we've had some experience over those 12 years that has made us the stepping stone, or part of the stepping stone, towards there being a new mass workers' party. And that's always been the TUSC aim. It has never seen itself as a new party. We are, of course, registered with the Electoral Commission because that's the only way you can stand candidates. And that is the main raison d'etre of TUSC at the moment, is to provide workers with a left alternative, a socialist alternative at the ballot box, whilst, of course, campaigning amongst our local groups and branches during the rest of the time. At the moment, we're spending all our energies in trying to persuade left trade unions, individuals like Jeremy Corbyn, to make the stand that we feel could make such a difference in the next general election, which has to be held, of course, by December 2024. Time is running out, comrades. But TUSC has a plan B if we fail to get significant sections of the working class to make that stand. So we've written to all left-wing political parties, to community activists, to student groups, to independent socialists, saying to them that if we fail to get the leadership that we're hoping we get from outside, then TUSC's plan B is to stand as many socialist and trade unionist candidates on a workers' list up and down the country as we can. The minimum aim is 100. That's because that sees the minimum threshold that you need to get an election broadcast and other fair media coverage, which is absolutely vital if we're going to try and help promote the ideas of socialism. When TUSC last stood in a general election back in 2015, that's because we refused to stand against a Jeremy Corbyn-led Labour Party with a radical manifesto, as it was at the time. We stood 135 candidates, not all of them who were actual part of TUSC, but who became part of TUSC, and Left Unity was a very good example of that, as Felicity will confirm, who stood candidates under a jointly registered description that included both Left Unity and TUSC's name. And that's the offer we make this time, comrades, as well. If other new organisations wish to apply to the Electoral Commission and form your own electable party, then that's fine. Think seriously, if you do that, about coming under the TUSC umbrella as well. But if you don't do that, then TUSC still welcomes you in any guise, as long as you accept the main core policies, which you can find on the website, which are basic traditional socialist policies. You can then run your own campaigns with your own policies completely democratically without any overall control from TUSC whatsoever. There's lots of myths being spread about TUSC over the years. which I can assure you, as somebody who's never been a member of the Socialist Party, simply are not true. They're based
20 seconds left.
Okay, Dave, I'm sorry about that. So anyhow, all I'm saying is that Tusk is open to all of you and everybody else on the left who wishes to be part of our umbrella. If we all fail to get an independent working class party formed before the general election, as I say, time is running out, we've only got just over 12 months, then you're very welcome to contact us at Tusk. Thank you, comrades.
Okay, thanks, Pete. Okay, next is you'll have to unmute yourself, Len Shale, if I'm reading your name correctly.
Yeah.
Okay, Len.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think Pete's explained a number of points. So my name's Lenny. I'm from the Socialist Party, which is one of the component parts of Tusk. And I've just sent the letter that Pete's just talked about. I mean, first of all, welcome the meeting. But I have to say, I think some of the comments Roger Silverman made were slightly childish, I've got to admit, in terms of Labour, particularly Labour in Tusk as part of, I think, what was he called it, a fringe, an impotent fringe group. I have to admit, well, lots of talk has been made in the meetings about trade motions, have been discussions and debates that have taken place in a number of trade union conferences. Well, most of them have come from Tusk supporters pushing those debates and those motions at local trade union branches. They're often the ones arguing, as well as many others, in those trade union conferences, trying to raise this call for the trade union to take the steps to break from Labour, but not just break from Labour, but use their political voice, weight and funds to stand candidates. And I think that's what, like Pete's highlighted, Tusk has put a lot of effort into it at the moment in time, right into every single group we can. Many of the groups here have been written to, given the opportunity to discuss with Tusk, to try and get at least what we hope is at least 100 workers candidates, which we're not insisting has to be Tusk. But what Tusk does provide, many of the things that Audrey White raised, people who can come under the umbrella of Tusk, are not forced, no policies or anything is forced upon them, apart from sign up to the basic core policies, whether it's a general or local elections, which, as Pete highlighted, has allowed us over the last 10 years, in the last general election, or 2015 general election, to stand over 120 candidates, get over 120,000 votes, the sixth largest party in terms of stance, and even in the last local elections, over 20,000 votes, over 250 candidates, and we're going to be doing it exactly the same thing in the lead up to the general election. I hope many of the people, comrades here, whether individuals or parts of campaigns, read the letter we've sent and welcome the invite, whether both nationally and locally, to take part in those discussions. We're not in the business of just imposing Tusk candidates in local areas and say we're the candidate or we're the party. What we're trying to do is open that discussion, start the discussion of what can we do to get a workers candidate in this local area.
30 seconds left, comrade.
National unions, but also raise the debate locally in campaigns and local trade union branches to start that call. What Tusk provides is the opportunity to stand as joint candidates, stand alongside us, but still keep your independence, campaign on what you want to campaign on, the other issues that you are passionate to you, but trying to raise that debate, push the cog forward, what can form the basis of a new mass workers' pay, which Tusk isn't, but we're trying to create that basis and those foundations for that and push the process forward as a cog.
Okay, thank you, comrade. Now, what I've got under the list of the next speakers is Alex Mays, Gerald Tasker, Felicity Demotta, Socialist Labour Network, Labour Left Alliance, Alan Story, Paul Collins, Ajaz Sheikh, Rob Parry, and when we've taken all the speakers, then Roger Silverman will sum up. Yeah, okay, thanks. So next speaker is Alex Mays. Welcome, comrade.
No, thank you very much for letting me speak today. I really do appreciate it. So yeah, I'm Alex Mays, the leader of the Breakthrough Party. I found it really interesting listening to the speeches on this call tonight and sort of getting a feel for where people's heads are at. And I think it's really important to congratulate Mahmood, and I really commend the work of the Newham Socialist Labour and what they're doing. It's really impressive, to be honest, and shows that like being rooted in your community is the right way to do politics. I just wanted to briefly come in on what we're doing. even if by different routes. And I welcome this willingness to come together and share ideas as well. My analysis of the current crises we face is very similar to those who've already spoken, so I'm not going to particularly dwell on that. But it's very clear that we need a real alternative, not only to a far-right Conservative Party, but to a Labour Party that is shifting to the right and no longer represents the working class. Whether it's public sector pay rises, whether it's the benefits cap that we saw recently, our economy and public spending, our public services, and like the right to strike or protest, the environment, the right to, the rights of refugees. Labour have shown time and time again that they're willing to match the Tories and actually keep most of these damaging policies when they come to power. I'd say it's pretty much nailed on that they're going to win the next general election. I think anyone would say the same here. And not down to an appetite necessarily, and well, definitely not actually, for that type of politics and those policies, but because the Tories have totally imploded. And I think now there's an opportunity to start building something, and I do agree with that, with what's been said today, which really in the short term has the capacity to push Labour from the left, not too dissimilar to what UKIP did to the Tories, and make them adopt more left-wing positions. But I think in the medium to long term, we need to look to ultimately replace the Labour Party as the party of the working class. As Felicity rightly said earlier as well, it needs to go beyond electoral politics as well. That's so important. If we want to be truly a working class party, it needs to be organised in our workplaces, it needs to be organised in our communities, and it needs to be organised on the streets as well. And, I heard what Carol said before about what New and Socialist Labour are doing, and that's exactly the kind of thing that any new party needs to be doing if it wants to have any success, really, and just to make the change that we need, But unlike what others have said, my feeling about any new party as it stands is that unfortunately we can't rely on the trade unions or the Labour left to do it. Like Ian, who spoke earlier, and the Bakers Unions are the only ones so far who've been brave enough to cut its ties with Labour. And I have a massive amount of respect for Ian and those who made that happen. But when you look at the FBU, you look at ASLEF and most recently Unite, they've all rejected motions on disaffiliation overwhelmingly. And there's no signs of other unions contemplating the same. So my question is to everyone here is when do we think these trade unions will split from Labour and form this new party? Is that 10 years away, 20 years away, 50 years away? It could literally be never. And the Labour left, there are good people in the SCG. There's no doubt about that. But they're all terrified of doing anything meaningful as they could get expelled. When yet another socialist is blocked, what do we see? A tweet, an article, a petition. And, who knows, these things could change when Labour inevitably win the next general election. But from their behaviour so far, I'd say there'll be more of the same. I've not been in the movement for as long as a lot of comrades here, but I've already feel like I've had my fair share of meetings like this and heard a lot of talking in that time, but I've not seen much action. I'm being totally honest about that. So I think we really do need to work to bring people together now. We don't have time to wait for someone else to do it or continue talking about it. We really do need to do it ourselves. We're on this call, everyone on this call, everyone in our movement have to be the change that we want to see. We need to change
30 seconds left, comrade.
Okay, I'll try and be as quick as possible. But we need to change the political narrative and tackle the multiple crises that we're facing. Breakthrough have been working with Left Unity and the Liverpool Community Independents, with support from former Labour MP Thelma Walker, Ian Hodson, who's here today as well, and Salma Ahmed, who was previously in Momentum's NCG and Labour Women's Committee, and other activists to launch a call for a new left party. But the difference is we're already doing it. We've done all the work over the last few months to be in a position where we can start taking sign-ups, start taking donations and building a campaign fund and doing all the groundwork that we need to actually make a difference with this. We're leaving our party names at the door. There are no egos. There are no leaders. We have a core set of principles that bring us all together, and we want to bring other groups into the fold to get involved. We're looking to launch the public call for a new left party next week, open up to membership not too long after that, and look to found the party in September, with a founding conference set to take place either that month or in October. Ultimately, members will lead the party, and when we come to found it, it'll be decided, the core policy platform, the constitution, how we'll work locally at the grassroots. that will be decided by members, not by me, not by anyone else that's wanting to push this forward. Ultimately, any socialist party worth its salt needs to be truly democratic and be powered by its members, not ruled by messianic figures. So between now and then, very quickly, just to sum up, like between now and then, we want to talk to more parties, councillors, trade unionists, activists, and campaigners across the movement to get them involved. I'm genuinely hopeful about this project and the future. You know, as was mentioned earlier, my generation, those who are much younger than me, want socialism, and they're even more radical than us here today. They're crying out for something. It's time we build it. So, like, thank you everyone for like listening to me ramble on. But you know, if anyone is interested in what we're doing, drop me an email. I'm going to put it in the chat box now. But just solidarity, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. Thanks. Right, next speaker. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 speakers left before Roger sums up. Next speaker, Gerald Tasker.
Thank you very much. Hello, comrades. Nice, fantastic to be here amongst such comrades. I'll be as quick as I can. So first of all, my name is Gerald Tasker and I'm from the OKISA Steering Group Committee. OKISA has been set up to stand a candidate against Starmer. Okay, that's our one shot. We have groups across the UK though, and we're not a party. We're an organisation that's been set up to bring people together, to support and unite parties, individuals and groups together. In many ways, like Tusk and like Breakthrough. So there's an overlap here. There's a mood and there's a movement in the country now to invest in independence, because party politics has failed us. The capitalist party politics has failed us. We need to make that movement. Out of that movement, we can build a party. Now, this is the first I've heard about Breakthrough launching a party. That I'm very interested to hear that. But we must make sure we don't fall into the pitfalls that other parties have fallen into. The Labour Party itself, when it was first set up as well. So that party must be socialist, member-led, democratic, solid constitution and rule book to stop to stop people from infiltrating it and breaking it down again, as has happened in the Labour Party. One member, one vote. No block votes. The unions, as brilliant as they are, they're not with us at the moment. Only a few are. Only as you say, only our comrades in the Bakers Union. So we need to work on these things together and bring everyone together, and that's what we're doing in OKISA, and as is everybody else on this call, and it's absolutely fantastic. So it takes time. It takes time to get the party together, and we must take that time and not fall into these traps. I very much agree with what Eric has said before, and Audrey, absolutely spot on. And I have to say, Alex Mayes, I really like what you said. So thank you for that. Let's please support Tusk if you please support OKISA if you can, as we support everybody else. We're actually also working with Rosie Mitchell in Frome to try and get her elected, and that's going well. I want to mention one other thing.
You've got 1 minute left.
Thank you, brother. Bonnie Ash-Craven is standing for the General Secretary's position in the TSSA union. If you don't have a favourite, and you can, please support her. She will unite the unions on the railways, and she will fight for the worker classes. I know her personally, and I know her politically. You will not get a better General Secretary than her if she is elected. I mean that in all sincerity. So please support her. And I think that's already what I got to say. I just want to say thank you very much, comrades, because this is absolutely brilliant and it reflects the mood that is out there. Thank you.
Thank you, comrade. Right, next speaker, Felicity de Motta.
Yeah, hi. I teach politics. I'm still in the Labour Party, not a supporter, obviously, of the current leadership. I'm also working with Just Stop Oil and other environmental groups, plus Palestine Action. I actually work for the prisoners. Well, we're looking after those who are imprisoned. I haven't really heard it mentioned, kind of the long term, in the sense that I agree there will be the formation of a new party, but I think that will come after the general election. And there are a few reasons why I think this. Number one, I think the Tories are going to become a rump party, just as the beginning of the 20th century, the Liberals lost power because of the rise of Labour, because the Liberals no longer, there was the working person didn't see their needs being met by the Liberal Party. So I see the demise of the Tories, their constituencies diminishing daily. And I see that Starmer's Labour Party will become a centre-right party, take over the place of the Tory party. And I think then there will come a time for the establishment of a new left party. And I think centre-left onwards, because I don't think we need to be descriptive in the sense, oh, it's only got to be one sort of person. I think it has to be broad because of our electoral system. But I also attend many meetings from many disparate groups who find they have no voice anymore because of the way the Labour Party is. So I know there's a massive constituency out there. It's just that I don't think going for smaller parties, sorry, they're all great, but I actually don't think going for smaller parties is going to help. Even though it's wonderful, I think we all have to come together. And I think we will, after general election, when people, and once certain trade unions break away, because I do think certain trade unions will break away. I don't think it's only going to be the Bakers Union.
30 seconds left,
yes,
Felicity.
Fine, because I see that their needs will not be met by a Labour government. So others will break away. Yeah, and that's all I wanted to say, that we have to look at how is this all going to happen, and it's going to happen because of the demise of the the Tory party. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Next is Socialist Labour Network, Labour Left Alliance. Matthew.
All right, thanks, comrade. I'm actually Matthew Jones, yeah. But I think that what the previous speaker said is correct. I mean, the problem is that the timescale we're looking at here is post the next election, because at that point we're going to see the break from the Labour Party. I think that the thing is, what we're seeing actually is a move to the far right, actually, by Starmer. I mean, the Tories are already a far right party. I'm not to say they're fascists. They have fascists obviously in the Tory party, but the Tory party is of the far right. Starmer is actually producing a new formation of the far right, which will take the name of the Labour Party. And under conditions obviously in which the system itself, capitalism itself, is in deep crisis. Obviously that he will not be able to offer any alternatives to what's happening, which is why precisely, I mean, he comes out with this stuff, he's in favour of child poverty. I mean, it's not, it's the amount of money, £1 billion in the budget of the DWP is insignificant. Really, it's a margin error. But the point being is that he wants to point out to both his masters in the ruling class and everybody else that he is reliable in order to enforce against the left and the working class, which is what his real program is. So the question is, okay, well, how do we move that? The problem I think we've got is a situation we've got at the moment, of course, is that there's a whole section of people, including I think everybody on this call, has been through this whole position of the Corbyn movement and has seen what's happened with what's happened and so on, and been through that experience. But the wider working class has not. The wider working class merely is at the moment seeing the need for an alternative to the Tories. I mean, okay, there's also the whole question, you're looking at, say, what's happening in unions like Unite, where the union bureaucracy itself wants to deal with what it can see as the coming government, which obviously advantages it as its interests as bureaucrats, but not that obviously will then enact repression against the membership of the union. Clearly, I mean, you see, you said as much. So the question is then when that becomes clear to people, and I think that we have to stage the thing in terms of that time, as to what
30 seconds left.
So I would ask people, if you're we'll hold another national meeting in September We're also looking for people to volunteer and help organise locally and regionally and so on. So, you know, if you can give us a hand and so on, obviously we'll email people and all the rest of it. But yeah, please volunteer. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Hello, Theo.
Hang on.
Yeah, of course. Okay.
Right. We've actually got 2 or 3 extra people want to speak. And so I hope you don't mind, but we do have to finish at 8:30. We need 5, 7, 8 minutes for Roger to sum up. So I'm going to suggest that the remaining speakers, and I will name them, have 2 minutes each. I'm sorry, but that way we can let everybody who wants to speak, which I think is a good thing to do. Alan Story, Paul Collins, A.S. Sheikh, Rob Parry, Susan Powell, Dominic Byrne. Hope I haven't messed anyone out. And Irene Leonard. That's it. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, you got your 2 minutes now, Alan. Sorry to cut you short.
No, that's all right. My name's Alan Story. I live in Sheffield. I'm from a group called Get PR Done. We're a cross-party group of Labour members, no party, Greens, lots of Lib Dems, etc. And what our view is that, in fact, we want to break the monopoly of the two-party system. And in fact, the only way to break that monopoly is by bringing in proportional representation. Now, what we do is, I don't want to say it's going to sort of make the new Jerusalem simply by having PR, but I am saying that with a right-wing Labour Party like Keir Starmer, that a left party under PR could get 5% of the vote, say led by Zara Sultana and Clive Lewis or whatever. 5% of the vote under PR would mean 30, 40 MPs in Parliament. That is something to fight for. When people say that they want to get good MPs, I love the idea, but it's not going to happen because in Canada, where I'm from 30 years ago, United States, in this country, we have a duopoly. Democrats, Republicans, in Canada, Liberals, Conservatives, in this country, Labour and the Tories. And it's been that way for hundreds of years. And it's going to stay that way because this is what the whole system is in fact to reward the existing parties, and that monopoly cannot be broken. And a new socialist party will go nowhere. It's not just sort of by accident. I'm just talking electorally. It's not just by accident that there isn't any socialist, party in this country, because in fact the system, the electoral system, is completely shut down to prevent other parties getting anywhere. Yeah,
20 seconds left. 20 seconds left.
I'm just saying that I think that the main focus should be, in fact, on getting PR to change the voting system. And then, in fact, by changing the voting system, then we can get 30, 40, many MPs, not 1 or 2. It's 1 or 2 is nothing. But in fact, we should remember, let's learn from UKIP. UKIP got 4 million votes in the election of 2015. That's a hell of a lot of votes. How many MPs? 1. And so this new socialist party might say, we'll get 4 million votes and get 1
Okay,
MP.
comrade, time's up. Thank you very much.
I put my address in the chat, getprdone@gmail.com.
Okay, next speaker. Thank you, Alan. Next speaker, Paul Collins. Only 2 minutes, I'm afraid, Paul.
Hello, member of Consistent Democrat, and I'm also a member of a steering committee member of Socialist Labour Network. First of all, I'd like to say well done to Mahmoud Mercer and Newham Socialist Labour for winning the by-election in Newham. My theme is really going to continue on what Eric and Gerald Tucker brought up. I think people sometimes forget that actually parliamentary and council elections are in fact a series of local elections in isolated areas. And of course, if you've got somebody that in your community that is a socialist and that they do want to deal with the needs of the working class, if we can get those people elected and they get on to councils and into parliament as well, that can actually form the basis of a new workers' party, and as Eric demonstrated, that has been done before, and I think that will be done before. That will be done at some point in the future, and I believe that at some point, some of the socialist group of Labour MPs will actually cross the floor if that happens.
20 seconds left, Paul. 20 seconds left.
Yeah, I'll finish there. Thanks.
Oh, you're there. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, well done. Thank you. Thanks, Paul. Well, I hope you're right. I'm not holding my breath for any socialist campaign. MPs joining, splitting off. Anyway, sorry. Next speaker. I'm sorry. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Ijaz or Ayaz?
Yeah, it's Ajaz. That's
okay. Thank you. Yeah.
I think most things have been covered by the colleagues, so I won't mention them. A couple of things regarding Mahmood's election. First of all, I think we all been weaned on Labour, where when the elections come, you volunteer 2 hours, do your 2 hours, and after 3-4 days, if you're very keen, you do another 2-3 hours. When we're fighting, mostly we'll be fighting Labour Party in elections, you really need to work hard, about 10 times as hard as we've been weaned on in Labour campaigns. Mahmood worked up to 16 hours a day, every day for the last 40 days, up to the election day. And a lot of his colleagues worked hard as well. Without that, we wouldn't have won. The other thing is that we're all expecting Labour Party to win in the next election. And who would be voting for them? I mean, we don't think they're going to be, they are working or representing working class anymore. We criticize them, but think about who's gonna vote for them. It's the same people that we call working class. But I think you've got to stop for 1 second and think, do these people now, or all of them think they're working class? I don't think so. I think a lot of them think they are middle class, and working class, fewer and fewer people are thinking of themselves as working class. So I think vocabulary has to change. Basically, that's what I got to say. We should not concentrate too much on class, words like class and working class and etc. That's historical. We've been there, we are brought up on that. I bet if you're shaking your head, but if you go out and ask 100 people, do you think working class? Are you working class? And I think less than 50% will say we are working class. Anyway, that's enough.
Okay, thank you, Ijaz. I shouldn't really intervene. I teach sociology of politics, and actually there's huge percentages of people who do identify as working class. Anybody who sells their labour to is working class. However, I'm sorry. So the next we got 3 more speakers. Susan Powell. No, 4 more speakers. The next one I've got on my list is Rob Parry, but I can't see Rob. Oh well, Rob must have gone. So the next speaker. Oh, there you go, Rob. Okay, over to you. You've got 2 minutes.
Sorry, mate. I'm recovering from my up last week, and I'm not putting the camera on. It's not pretty, and I can't compete with you. Right. It seems to me that there are some fantastic minds in this room. They're pouring a lot of energy into the formation of a new workers' party, and clearly the understanding is, from what I take from tonight, is that it's going to take a lot of time. We don't have that time. Why don't we unite under the and don't shoot me? It's a suggestion. Why do we not unite under the breakthrough flag? Alex has done this groundwork already. We all have a common aim, even if we all have our own ideas of how to get this done. We don't have time to iron out the idiosyncrasies that divide us. So let's unite under the breakthrough banner and win some seats in Parliament. And I urge you all, because I've read it, read their constitution. It's really thorough, and we could win some seats. And that's all I've got to say, mate. And thank you, everybody. Excellent.
All right. Thank you, Rob. Next speaker, Susan Powell.
Hi. I just wanted to address something that the leader of the Breakthrough Party said about not waiting for the unions, because I'm a Unite member, and our branch, including the Labour members, voted unanimously to disaffiliate from Labour, which of course we're not allowed to do. And I think that there's a strong mood in lots of Labour, in lots of union branches in that direction, and also for the support of anti-cuts candidates. And there's been a lot said about Mick Lynch and the way in which he's led the RMT, but he himself is totally tied to Labour. He said at Tolpuddle last year, there is no other gaming around. So I think we have to recognise that the union leadership doesn't reflect the membership any more than the apparatus of the Labour Party represented Labour membership when Corbyn was leader. On the picket lines, we hear a lot of people saying a lot of sympathy for the idea of a new mass party. I have to say I'm also a member of Tusk, but they also said that they will vote Labour. Labour is quite clearly negotiating with the bosses. That's clear with what's happened with the water industry. And that is why they will not be attacked by the media in the same way as Blair was supported by Murdoch. The game is up for the Tories, I think. So Labour, the second team of capital, will take over. And I think we have to fight within the unions. And I don't think, we can't wait. As to, whether we're working class or talk about class, we don't need to talk about it. It's happening, and people are realising that the ruling class is crushing them and destroying lives and destroying the environment. And I think more and more people are aware of that. The challenges we have are within the unions, fighting within the unions to get them to disaffiliate. And I think without the support of the trade union movement, and I don't just mean the trade unions officially, then it would be very difficult to form a workers' party. But the unions have, in fact, through the strike action, which they've been forced to take because of what's happening in society, have transformed the political mood to a great extent, and we can capitalise on that. I would appeal to people to consider standing for Tusk until that party is formed.
20 seconds left, Susan, or was that it?
Well, that's really what I wanted to say, that I think that we don't have time. We do have to put that message out now. And if people want to stand in the elections, and we don't have time to form a new party with the Electoral Commission to take up the offer that Pete McLaren made.
Okay, thanks a lot, Susan. Two more contributions before winding up. Dominic Byrne. Dominic.
Hi, Dominic Byrne, member of the Labour Party and also a member of Unite. I've been in the Labour Party for over 50 years and I've been a trade unionist since I was 21. I think when I look round, and I'm getting older now, the thing that really angers me about people who are discussing politics is that when I look round, I see every problem that faces the working class and the rest of society is generated by capitalism, whether it's global warming, poverty. I'm not going to run through the list. It's too long. And the task in front of the Labour Party, or a new Labour Party, or a socialist party, is to transform society and get rid of the capitalist system and build a workers' state and build it internationally until we actually get rid of class system by everybody being a worker. I just want to raise a couple of points on the things that have been raised. This question of constitution and rule books. A fully blown workers' party can draw up a constitution and a rule book if it likes. But the biggest guarantee of any constitution and any rule book is the political awareness and understanding of the members and the working class itself. I understand that Stalin had the most, if you like, liberal, open constitution on paper, but it didn't make a ha'porth of difference when it came to what policies he pursued. Starmer's doing the same. Things are getting ripped up. People have been kicked out of the party and so on. And I think with regard to Parliament, if people think that socialism is going to be achieved through Parliament, I think they're dreaming. The whole state system is geared up to stop that. But that doesn't mean that you don't participate in it, you don't get your voice in it, you don't build a political party on that sort of basis of forming a government and then carrying out socialist policies and having the backing of the working class to carry them through. And
20 seconds left, comrade.
yeah. Anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Well, that was pretty good. Okay, thank you. The final speaker, Irene Leonard.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd just like to say thanks to everybody who's contributed this evening. It's all been so powerful, really. What I want to say, though, is a lot of these meetings, we have great expressions of principle and intent. What's missing really is analysis that leads to strategy, analysis of strengths and weaknesses, where we can move first, where our strengths are. Starmer has very cleverly cut off our common form of communication, the CLP. We used to meet there, however inappropriate or imperfect it was, but we'd meet and talk and chat, and that's gone. So we need a strong analysis without, like the Ridley report. I keep boring everybody with the Ridley report, which is a fabulous strategy for the right. We need our version of that. So can the next meeting that you organize look at analysis and strategy rather than a discussion or definition of the situation, all of which I agree with and is very powerful, but we need to move on to the next step. That's it, really. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Irene. Well, thank you for all the people who've spoken. It's been vibrant, it's been powerful, and best of all, it's been very comradely, which is what we need. It's also been informative, and I've learned a lot. I'm sorry if I shook my head at various speakers. I should have kept my head still, not shaking it or anything. But it's yeah, that was great discussion. Now, to conclude this evening, Roger Silverman has got wants to come in. Right, over to you, Roger, to conclude.
Okay, well, it's really been an absolutely inspiring discussion. I really thank everybody who participated and everybody who's here. It's really, there's huge political potential here for really exciting and historic developments. And I think if it's like that now, then how much more so when comrades have said that it's really, it's after the next election that we're going to see real movement. I think we're on the eve of huge social and political upheavals. Where we are now is still only the kind of hinterland. It's still only a kind of beginning. It's only a kind of token of the kind of storms that are going to come politically and socially and in terms of industrial struggles and all the rest. Now, in this discussion, in this summing up, I'm not going to try and take everything, but I am going to try. I can't, I'll just take in order a few very short bullet points, if you like, on things, because we will be meeting again. And this is only the beginning of a long and deep and I think really important discussion. Now, the first thing I'd like to say is just to get it out of the way. I apologize to Comrade Len if what I said sounded a bit dismissive. Perhaps I could have phrased it differently, but let's be frank about it. The point is, what we're talking about here is creating a mass party of millions, and all the groups, worthy as their work has been, Tusk, Breakthrough Party, Left Unity, and all the rest, but they are fringe groups because they don't have a real solid base in the working class. They have points of support here and there, and it's important, and I don't dismiss them, absolutely not. And it's not the intention of this meeting to try to engage in rivalry with other groups. But what we are saying is the one thing that makes us a little different from all the other groups here is that we see, without discounting the value and importance of all the work done by Tusk and Breakthrough and Left Unity and all the rest, that the real steps forward are going to be taken when the mass of the workers' organisations start moving. The only real mass organisations that exist in Britain are the trade unions. Yes, they're reduced in size from what they were in the 70s. Yes, they've been until recently rather or very quiescent. Yes, their leaders are often completely treacherous and bureaucratic, but they are the mass organizations and things will happen. We're not expecting the mass of the great majority of trade union leaders to move in the direction of breaking from Labour and forming a new mass party. Unfortunately, most of the unions are not led by comrades like Ian Hodson. What we're saying is that the activists, the rank and file militants and activists are going to be appalled when they see what a Labour government is doing, and they will see the need, just as what happened in 1900, they will see the need to break away from this this second 11 Tory party, and they'll say we need to have a party of our own to fight for our rights. Not necessarily because they're won to the ideas of socialist revolution overnight or straight away, because they say we need representation in Parliament, just like the original Labour Representation Committee said. They didn't adopt an even formal socialist constitution until 1918. But when they formed the Labour Representation Committee and then the Labour Party in the early 1900s, they said, we need a party that can fight for trade union rights in Parliament. Now, I think I was very, very impressed by the contribution of Comrade Alex. Obviously, it was a breath of fresh air to hear him speak and to see him. And obviously, we don't want to be patronising, but obviously, all of us, part of the appeal of what he said is his age. I mean, the fact is that this is a party of youth, and I'm afraid that it's very difficult for any of us to admit it. But looking around the room, we don't have much longer. We need a new generation to take up the weapons and to fight. And it's a great source of confidence that comrades like Alex are coming together, and that they're making, when we talk about a breakthrough, they seem to have made. Labour is a prototype of the kind of party we're talking about, because the split in the Labour Party already came 2.5 years ago in Newham, when the Labour bureaucracy and the Labour council simply shut down the Labour Party. This is a borough where there was at that time an 100% Labour council, a directly elected Labour mayor, 2 Labour MPs with the biggest majority among the biggest majorities in the country. There was with the traditions of Keir Hardie and Sylvia Pankhurst, and just down the road, George Lansbury. I mean, all the rest. That of all places, to shut down the Labour Party, where it was already thriving and dynamic, was an absolute crime in itself. But we said, no, we're forming Newham Socialist Labour. We've seen the results today. Here, the inspiring work of Mahmood and of Karel and Ajaz also, who spoke in the discussion. That shows what can be done. If that can be done in one borough, then think of what can be done on a national scale. Now, when we say, talking about the next election, we don't, of course, it's not sure that Labour will win. I think Labour is likely to win, but not with a big vote. It'll be an unpopularity contest between Labour and the Tories. And I think simply because they happen to be in office already, the Tories are even more unpopular than the Starmer leadership of the Labour Party. But could well be a minority government. It could be a coalition government. But when we talk about a new party, well, I agree with Felicity that the new party will come because the real impetus, the real groundswell for a new party will only come after the election of a Starmer government. And I just want to end by saying, well, I'm not going to comment on the question of PR now, but simply to say that I don't think it's a panacea. I don't think it makes a lot of difference what capitalist electoral system parliamentary system we have to be operating under. But I do say, just think, if PR had been the system when Jeremy Corbyn was leader of the Labour Party, that would have been used to permanently exclude a left Labour government coming in. So it cuts both ways. Yes, we could get a handful of votes in Parliament, but yes, also we would find it an uphill struggle to get a majority socialist government. I just want to finish on one point, an appeal to comrades. We want this to be the beginning of a long campaign. We want comrades to volunteer, as Matt said, as local organisers or conveners of this campaign, and also not only on a geographical basis, but also trade union organisers and trade union activists for this campaign too. We won't get a mass workers' party without huge convulsions in society. But when comrades ask, is it going to be 50 years? Well, I'm afraid we don't have 50 years. Humanity doesn't have 50 years. We're talking about the events in the next 2, 3, 4 years, when I think there'll be enormous, huge convulsions in Thank you, comrades.
Yeah, thank you, Roger. That concludes the meeting. We will be in touch with everyone who's registered. Thank you for a really good, supportive, socialist meeting. Thank you, comrades. I declare the meeting closed.
Thanks, comrades.
Bye.
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 Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Solidarity.
Bye. Good night.
Bye, everyone.
Night. Solidarity.
Bye. Bye.
I know.